There's a function on the Pfaff Creative 3.0 embroidery machine called basting in the hoop. And let me show you what that will do and give you an example of where you can use it. So first off, how many of you have had a piece of fabric that has already been pre-cut and then does not fit in the hoop? So this is one way to be able to embroider on this and have a basting stitch kind of attach the fabric to the stabilizer. So start by hooping up your stabilizer that you would normally use on the back of the fabric you're stitching, and hoop it up. We're going to do a single monogram on this charm square. So it's cut 5 inches, so hence why it doesn't fit in this particular hoop at all. Next, let's go ahead and choose a large alphabet. Let's do the curls today, and let's do an S for fun, yes. And we do need to tell it we're using the 120 by 120 hoop. That's the Creative 120 square hoop. And when the design comes in, if it's not centered, when you move your hoops, you can go ahead and center it at that point. You know what I'm going to do, just to make it easy, is I'm going to just fold this fabric in half and kind of find the center point just with a little light crease. So instead of actually drawing my lines on my fabric, I'm going to just use that center point as a guide. All right, so I've got some purple thread in here, so that's going to get us kind of started. We'll go ahead and go over to the stitch out mode and attach the hoop. I always love that it tells me when to do what. Now, here is the thing. Right now, do you notice where the plus is? That is indicating where the needle is sitting right now. It's kind of down into this position. So if I was to put my fabric centered on that stitch, you're going to see that I'm not actually where I want to be. So next, we're going to go over to kind of the precise positioning area and find the center of the design. So see how I can choose where I am viewing the needle position. So that's the easiest way to go in and get the needle to jump to the center position. So even if I tip the needle down right now in the hoop, I can see that that's centered on the lines here and then north and south at this point. Next, let's just go ahead and move the fabric in and kind of position it. Again, you can move that needle down if you want to kind of see it coming down. So notice I like to put match my fabric to the machine and the design instead of just putting it down and then moving the design. You can actually do both ways, but guess what? This kind of saves a step. So once it's kind of hovering on here, you could do a little spray adhesive, spray the inside of the hoop on the stabilizer, not the fabric. Remember, that's the best choice. And then let's go ahead and confirm that's where we want everything to be. Now here's where the basting in the hoop functions are. See the little butterfly with the dotted box around it? So when I touch that, notice that it puts a dotted box around the design that I'm actually doing. So it really is, what it's going to do is just before it stitches the design, whether you have one color like this particular monogram, or if you have 10 colors within a design, it will go all the way around just the perimeter of the design. So let me show you how this is going to stitch. It'll stitch the basting in the hoop first and then move to the first color of the design. See those nice long stitches around the perimeter of the design? So my fabric is now attached to the stabilizer. So even though the best result is always hooping your stabilizer and fabric together, well, we didn't have a choice. So now it's plan B. So the basting in the hoop is really that best next choice. So after it stitches around, and did you notice it kind of went back and then forward? So this is just make sure everything kind of locks because these stitches are kind of long. Sometimes long stitches don't hook up quick enough. So it did put a few stitches in and then went around the box. Now it's just ready to stitch the regular design. We'll just go ahead and get started here and then I'll talk through the rest of this. The other place that the basting in the hoop function can actually be used is anytime that you have stretchy fabric, whether you've hooped it or not. it's not a bad idea to add just kind of this little stabilized stitch as it tacks the fabric to the stabilizer before you even get started. Because stitches do pull in, and it pulls everything towards the middle of the design. So anytime that you can put some extra stitches to hold everything, you're going to have better results. And when we're done, these stitches are going to easily come out. But it sure beats having to try to figure out a way to hoop this fabric. Just lay your fabric over your stabilizer and begin stitching. Some other uses for basting in the hoop would be if you were stitching a design on a corner of a napkin. So once again, you would have an area that's hard to hoop. If you're doing anything on hats, like a stocking hat and putting some names or maybe some team numbers, gloves, anything like a placket of a front of a shirt, you will find that if there's ever a time that you can't hoop something, this is going to be your lifesaver.